Hello, beloved. Are you a woman struggling with insecurities? Do you know that you are meant to be a leader in your community? Perhaps you have certain fears that arise as you learn how to build your confidence. Pop a yes in the comments if you believe any of these statements and stay with us as we discuss navigating fears and building confidence in embodied feminine leadership. Today, I have a special guest, Natalia Price, and she is a woman who is on fire right now. I love this woman. I've known her for many, many years, and she is a spiritual empowerment coach. She's an ordained priestess and a facilitator of the 13 Moon Mystery School. She facilitates transformation through one on one mentorship, the year long Priestess Initiate Circle, embodied ritual leadership, her program, and community full moon circles, or I should say moon circles. So, beloved Natalia Price, I'm so happy to have you here today. Come on up. Hi.
Yay. Oh, what a joy. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so grateful, beloved. So, when we're speaking about embodied feminine leadership, what does that mean for you? Hmm.
On a deep soul level, I feel like we all really get that of what it means to really step forward in authentic leadership, of really conquering our own fears of whatever that is, that imposter syndrome or public speaking or that fear of being judged, to really align with this greater message and the purpose that we're here for. And moving past those fears to really stand up and guide others and be a leader in, whatever our field is, but really doing it led from the heart,
Yeah.
with this deeper spiritual quality to it.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that because it is so true. Like, we really do butt up against the imposter syndrome or the am I good enough or am I enough? And like, there's so many programs that women are running and in the background in our subconscious. And so I find that that does block us from really stepping into our full power. So, what are some of the ways that you love to share how to get through those blocks?
I feel like the deepest part is really coming within and being present with what is.
Yeah.
By really acknowledging the fears or the challenges that we face when stepping into these places.
Mm.
And, we so often come in contact with that inner critic or that internal saboteur, that self-sabotager. And it's said that about 70% of people experience that imposter syndrome at some
Mhm.
point in their life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so really getting in touch with our own internal story and how it manifests in our lives, especially coming into a place of one, being the witness to be like, oh, here's that voice again. Oh, this is, that fear of putting myself out there is just totally crushing and not allowing me to move forward. And
Mm.
so one really starting with that aspect of self-compassion and mindfulness, right? To be it, to be present with what's real inside of us.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
in the 13 Moon Mystery School that I'm a part of, when we work with archetypal psychology, we're really diving into the shadow work,
Mm.
those unconscious pieces that so often run the show that we're not aware of, the parts of ourselves that we deny, that we judge, that we try to hide from people.
Yeah.
And so the first step is one, acknowledging it and getting in touch with what is there.
Yeah.
And then going into it, being present with it, seeing where did it come from, perhaps if you can get to the root of it,
Yes.
or coming into, how does it play out in my life? How has it served me?
Mhm.
Perhaps it's protected us or kept us safe,
Mm.
right? How is playing small been something that is part of our coping mechanisms in life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then really going into that deeper place of what is its medicine or the wisdom you've garnered by walking with it? What is the deeper teaching or the learning there? With so
Mm.
much of the shadow work, it's really getting underneath and seeing what's there and acknowledging it so that then we can move forward with it, right? And that we can maybe there's some forgiveness, maybe there's that deep piece of self-acceptance
Yeah.
and, loving all parts of ourselves.
Mm.
I found so often in life that what appeared to be some of my greatest weaknesses end up being my power pieces, end up being what I came here to do. And
Yeah.
that's why so many of us have spent so long in the shadows with these patterns, these traumas, these pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we really get in there and going, "What is this about?" "Oh, it's because this is what I'm here to bring." And, for myself, with my own journey of stepping forward into finding my confidence, finding my power around speaking in public and stepping forward as a leader, that
Mhm.
was such a big dream of mine. I all the work that I've done on myself, and especially by diving into, self-empowerment and spiritual leadership and working with archetypes in the 13 Moon Mystery School, they really helped me to meet that fear and recognize that I wanna help other women through that and to find that sooner than it took me to find my own confidence.
Yeah.
And that makes it really part of my mission and my purpose here.
Yeah.
And why I would see it in so many other people and be like, "Wow, look at that woman. She can speak with such eloquence and presence."
Yeah.
And I realized I saw it everywhere because it was mine to bring. It was
Mm.
what I was here to show up for with other beings. And so all of that really just inspires me to keep moving through, right? That
Yeah.
doing something bigger than myself really what allows me to step forward in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Deep breath for all of that. Yes, sister. I like to say our mess is our message, right? Like it when we really get into the drudges, the underbelly, the underworld of what we've gone through in our life, it really does bring up the gold. I like to say we look for the gold in the shift. You got to dig in that shift to find the gold. And that when we actually receive those codes, when we actually understand how they did serve us, how they may or may not still be serving us, and how to actually navigate through them to the other side and have that become one of our superpowers. It's one of the things I teach my clients as well is like discovering your superpowers. And sometimes they are underneath those shadows that are coming up. So, how would you recommend, or how would you like to share how people can move through some of these insecurities and these shadows as they come up?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like so often when we think about putting ourselves out there or stepping forward in leadership, these qualities of strength and clarity and resistance come up around that. And but for so long in our world, the patriarchy has given us this idea of power being this masculine way of power over, of dominance,
Mm.
right? And a lot of what we've seen in our world right now is this abuse of power,
Yeah.
right? Where it's been taken and made a monster out of what this word is. But when we come to the highest qualities of what we're standing for, it's this aspect of nobility and integrity and really like being fully present, right? Of
Mhm.
pulling ourselves back into our power center
Mm.
and how we stand in our own sovereignty. And sovereignty really being that capacity to stop needing any kind of external validation in order to know our truth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to really look at that habitual position that's been so entrained in us, especially as women in our consciousness that is always seeking for that approval of others in
Mhm.
order to validate our worth or our goodness or our lovability. And
Ugh.
so we're really trying to, once we recognize when we're going into those places to develop that internal muscle that
Mm,
really guides us back to the truth of our own hearts, to sit in our own thrones as a queen and sitting so that we empower and support others to sit in their thrones.
mm,
And
mm,
that really gives us this opportunity to see when we are wobbling back and forth, or when we're breaking our own sacred agreements with ourselves about who we are choosing to be. And so one is that, right? What I spoke into is becoming aware of. And, in the 13 Moon Mystery School, we really like to work with pattern interrupters to
mm.
catch ourselves when we're going down that road.
Yeah.
And it being some kind of like kinesthetic, somatic movement in the body
Mhm,
that we can recognize, like, "Oh, there I go doing that thing again. There I go belittling myself.
mhm.
There I go thinking I can't do this."
Yeah.
So just feeling into your own body, what would be a pattern interrupter where you could catch yourself going into that negative self-talk or that inner critic? And
Mhm.
some kind of touching on the body. It could be tapping, it could be a hug,
Yeah.
it could be a deep breath. And it also can be something that you can make it a really small movement that no one even needs to know you're doing it.
Mhm.
It's just to bring you into that awareness, right? That embodiment to bring you present again, right? To touch into what we know so that whenever we're bending or we're trying to, do that people pleasing that's often we do,
Yes.
or that anywhere where we have that fear of rejection or of being humiliated or judged or seen in a certain way, right?
Mhm.
This is where we tap in. We're like, okay, here I am. Now I get to slow it down, be present,
Mm.
make another choice.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna sit with this fear, this nervousness, whatever's coming up, and breathe through it and remind, what am I here to do? What am I in alignment with? What is this about, right? What are we here standing for? And
Mhm.
so even those pieces to really know, what is your motivation? Where is your power coming from? And whatever the thing is that you're doing.
Mhm.
And even in that place of self-empowerment,
Mm.
recognizing that no one outside of yourself can give you anything that you have not already given yourself.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
so that self-empowerment is this real intimacy with choice. And that's what spells out sovereignty and power, and it magnetizes joy so that it lifts your vibration, and then that you could just naturally attract to yourself what you are choosing to manifest and what you're putting into the world.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, I like to say we are woo manifesting. Right. And so one of those pattern interrupts, I know some friends who are in recovery, they just have like a little rubber band on their wrist, right? And just snap, right? And I like the tapping. And especially if it's something around receiving, like I'm not worthy, like you would tap the left hand because that's the receiving hand, or I can't do this, like I can't give this way, it would be the right hand because that's the giving hand. And so there's definitely ways that I have utilized in the past and I share with my clients as well. And I find that when that pattern really comes up the most is when we're faced with really big decisions in our life. So those like pivotal moments of transition. And so many of the people that I work with, when we go into that space of, okay, what is it that you want to create? What are you wanting to will manifest? What are your desires to create? And they are faced with like, well, what are my core values? Like, what is going to actually lead me into this next chapter of my life? And how do I want to lead? And I find that many people that I speak with as well, they just want to lead by example. They don't aspire to be a mentor or a guide or a coach. Some of them just want to be somebody that their family can depend upon with integrity and accountability, or be someone in the community that could be a loving ear with compassion and empathy. And so when we're talking about feminine leadership, it can be reflected in our life in so many different ways. We're not just talking about going up on stage with a microphone, standing at the pedestal, and sharing your vision or mission. It sometimes just means who you're being. And that's where the embodiment comes in. What am I embodying? I like to say, who are you being in the world rather than what are you doing? Right. So, um, you spoke a little bit about some of the fears that come up. Is there any other ones that are kind of the biggest ones? I mean, self-sabotage, I'm not enoughness. Is there anything else that you feel like some people, um, how could I say, are struggling with, challenged with?
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
definitely. I feel that one that many of us say, "Oh, I'm not ready yet.
Uh-huh.
I'm not there yet."
Okay.
Or the perfectionist
Yeah.
that, oh, that just kinda
Oh.
slays and shuts us down, right? This one I think is especially strong for women where,
Uh-huh.
society has historically placed women in positions of support rather than leadership. And
Mm.
so all those places that self-doubt can be so deeply rooted, and it takes a lot of intentional work to overcome it.
Mhm.
I feel like that inner judge, that imposter syndrome, right? That, "Oh, I'm not there yet," or we're comparing ourselves to some crazy external standard or some really high place,
Yep.
right? And so often that judge, that voice that tells us that we should be further along than we are, that we have to show up completely together and perfect, or that any mistake will expose us,
Mm.
right? And so many of those are cultural and familiar expectations that really weigh heavily on us.
Yep.
And either what was modeled in our homes around what women could do, especially for me coming from South America, it was not modeled for me of women speaking up against patriarchal oppression.
Mm.
And so for many of us, it's breaking out of roles that others had expected us to stay in, as the caregiver, the supporter, the quieter one. And, it's working through one, recognizing we're in those place and then moving through them. And so that first step, is that awareness, really looking at those blocks and recognizing wherever they show up in our lives, right?
Mhm.
And doing that shadow work to
Mhm.
really explore those parts of ourselves that we normally try to push away or hide,
Mm. Mhm.
right? And for some idea, that if we bring these insecurities or the fears into light, we won't be loved or accepted,
Mm.
right? It's really deep, all those pieces.
Mhm.
And doing that work of, am I ready to let this go? Like, how much longer am I willing to give my life force energy or the power leaks to giving power to these pieces, right?
Yeah.
And am I really ready to lay it down? Like,
Mhm.
how much longer? What does it take, right?
Mhm.
Of seeing, am I done with these pieces? And
Mm.
how can we come into that divine feminine aspect of a rebalancing ourselves?
Yeah.
And not in that, so much of the shadow of, like, the feminist movement, which was the rejection of the masculine or
Right.
being like, "Oh, the toxic masculinity," but no, coming within our own inner selves and looking at what do we stand for? What
Mm.
am I in service to? And
Mhm.
really getting in touch with those deeper pieces. What is your deeper call or intention for whatever it is that you are doing, with how you wanting to step forward in the world.
Mhm.
Am I done with this piece?
Mm.
And see what stands in the way of me walking in my power,
Mm.
right? Really getting in touch with those pieces and saying, am I willing to lay them down?
Yes. Definitely yes is the answer.
Right?
You
And
know
that willingness needs to be stronger than that fear.
Yeah.
Right? That, yes, that I'm done with this. And that willingness really opens us up for our own divine knowing, our divine inspiration, our courage to step forward at this time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And oftentimes there might be places where you can get support and assistance
Mhm.
either with deities that you work with archetypes, with people in your life that are supportive, with mentors, with investing in yourself, right? To have that support so that you feel I'm not alone doing this.
Mhm. Yeah.
And even especially right now where it's like, as, empowered beings, there are so many out in the world right now that don't have this privilege and this opportunity to step forward, that
Mm.
we're the ones that need to stand
Mhm.
in this freedom that we have to
Mm.
really raise consciousness. We have a responsibility.
Mhm.
And how can we hold ourselves accountable and bring others along to support us, to help hold us accountable, to reclaim our power, to find it, to own it.
Mhm. Yeah. I love
And
that.
that willingness really opens the door, really helps us cut through, those fears, to take responsibility and to walk our talk, to own it.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah. Well, are you ready to own your power? I know that this has been a journey for myself for many, many years now. And without going too far into the story, like a lot of us had a huge shift in our life when we had COVID lockdown. And we had to re-examine our life, where we're at, where what we're doing, who we're being. And that was a huge pause button for humanity. And I feel like we're just kind of coming out of that particular portal. And so many are like ready. They're ready to step into their leadership, and yet they don't know how, or they are faced with those fears or insecurities, or the shadows are coming up, especially now. We are living in very tumultuous times, and yet when we return to our sovereign self and our sovereign soul and our inner knowing that we're safe. If we want to experience peace, we come from peace. If we want to experience compassion, we come from compassion. First for ourselves, it's that inner work. I like to say, begin within, right? So it's that inner work that will allow you to step into that next level of leadership. And again, whether it's just leading by example or being with your community or your family. And so I have found that having support, having a mentor, having a coach, having a circle of women, if you're a woman, or the men having their circles, or even communal circles where there is support, where there is a like minded, like hearted community that comes together in full support of processing these things as they come up, to transmute them and then move into the next place. Because that is where growth happens, when we actually get out of our comfort zone, right? Like if we just stay in our little comfort zone and we just keep our blinders on and I'm meant to do this and I'm supposed to do this, then there's no growth. And so we have to find those boundaries and expand beyond them to grow and transform and grow and transform. And that's the only way we will rise into our divine, feminine, embodied leadership. So, Natalia, I know that you have a lot of ways that can help support women specifically. Can you share some of those with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Even before I go into that, I just really want to close it with that piece around, one, doing that shadow work and getting in touch with what are your blocks,
Yeah.
and then really getting clear with yourself of
Mm-hmm.
what are you committing to cleaning up,
Mm-hmm.
right? How can you commit to clearing up at least one specific way in your life, some real world action to lay it down,
Yeah.
to commit to being in integrity, to commit to whatever, finding a coach, a program, a thing to really step forward.
Yeah.
I'm to really call yourself to clean up, be it that power leak or that wobble, wherever you've fallen off of center from your sovereignty. Find an agreement field or a vow or statement to make for yourself. Like, I am doing this. Like, what will you do differently now? Like
Mm-hmm.
this week? how many times, how often, like being really specific and clear with yourself. And
Mm.
that way of that sacred contract about how you are choosing to come into integrity and stepping into your leadership.
Yeah.
And like affirmations, I choose to stand in my power now,
Mhm.
or I am done creating these power leaks,
Mm.
or, I choose speaking it for yourself, writing it down for yourself, creating rituals for yourself so that you can really continuously come back to that place, be reminded, hold up that mirror for yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So that you can continuously come back and hold that. And then keep holding the vision,
Mhm.
right? The dream, reminding yourself in it, seeing yourself, feeling yourself in that vision of manifesting that dream, bringing in that partner, standing on that stage, creating the finances. It's so much about the vision and then feeling it in the body, holding it in the body.
Mm.
And maybe there's, that embodiment piece of dance. Maybe there's movement. Maybe there's mudras that really hold that vision for you.
Mhm.
To keep bringing it back into that place of embodiment, right? So that then vibrationally in grace, things start to align with you. Opportunities show up.
Yeah.
You get ideas, you receive the downloads, you're inspired in so many beautiful ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
And if this really touches you on a deep level, I invite you to come in deeper with me. I'm offering the Embodied Ritual Leadership Program that's starting on November 7th. And this is a program that's really about diving deeper into these aspects of who you really want to step forward and be, and doing that deep inner work of uncovering and clearing out any of societal conditionings, the parental modeling, the shadow work,
Mhm.
right? And then from going in deep, then we dive into the foundation, the step-by-step process of creating rituals and being able to guide others in transformation.
Mhm.
And then we dive into a lot of the pieces around the sacred business, the skills, the how you put yourself out into the world, the marketing. I bring in my own sacred business coach to guide us into really seeing how do we offer our gifts in the world in a way that's really aligned with feminine principles and integrity.
Mhm. Love that.
So if this calls to you, get in touch with me at nataliaprice.com and the Embodied Ritual Leadership Program.
Mm.
And then next Friday on November 1st and Saturday, November 2nd, that whole Samhain Day of the Dead portal, I'm
Mhm.
offering a free 2-day masterclass that's called Clearing Blocks to Stepping into Leadership. And
Mhm.
this is where we're really diving into doing that inner work so that then we really feel empowered and clear about what we want to vision and bring forward.
Mhm.
So that's a 2-day masterclass on November 1st and 2nd, the Clearing Blocks to Leadership.
Amazing. Yeah. Wonderful. Oh, Natalia, you are just a wealth of wisdom and grace and beauty. And, we've known each other a while and we've seen each other grow and we've seen each other expand into who we're being right now. And I just want to honor you and acknowledge you because I see you. You're doing such beautiful work, you are sharing such beautiful work and loving devotion to our community. So, for those of you who want to find her as well on Instagram or Facebook, there's her handles there at the bottom of the screen. And Natalia, I will ask you for a final thought, but I did want to share this too. Natalia will be speaking for 1111 Unified. This year's theme is called Activate Your Soul Codes. It's about unlocking your purpose, gaining clarity, and living on mission so that you can feel like you're really making an impact. And so we invite you to come into this solace, this reprieve after all the chaos and turmoil we're going through right now, to come into community, to come into circle together on the powerful power portal day of 11/11. And so you can find out more about that because Natalia will be speaking on our Egypt panel with other beloveds. And you can go to 1111unified.com/activate. That's where you will find your free portal pass for that event. So, beloved, oh, and I'm just going to pop mine up too. There we go. On a star 1111 and 1111 Unified on both Instagram and Facebook. So, beloved, any final thoughts or anything you want to really leave everyone with today?
I feel like these are such powerful times right now where it is calling all of us to step forward in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
That we have been, we were born for this, and everything our ancestors have laid the foundation for us to step forward at this time is what we are here to bring. And it's really time to step out of the old story. There's so much support here. And seeing you, Anistara, and all that you have created around this powerful 1111 movement to really raise consciousness on the planet and really bringing in these codes for this awakening and bringing in all the Egypt frequency and vibration that is so present that it's like, bring it, like use this power, this support, this energy of ancient Egypt and all the codes that get awakened in each one of us. Like it's super inspiring. And it really, I feel like you're opening doors for so many other people to step in and find out what their thing, their offerings, their gifts are. So deep bows to you too, sister. We've been on this journey for some time together, and it's amazing to see all the ways that now we're weaving and supporting one another in the feminine. I feel like this is a new way of the rising up right now, is all of us working together to lift up the veils.
Yeah, beautiful. Full collaboration, cooperation, co-creation. These are the frequencies of the new earth. Like, isn't this what we want to live in? Isn't this what we want to co-create together? I love you so much. And
Mm.
here today, so, so grateful. And yeah, just sending you all so much love. Thank you, Natalia Price. Go to her website if you want to find out more. I'll throw it at the bottom again one more time. All right, beloveds, have a beautiful, blessed Sawan. May the portal be thin and you activate any codes with all of your ancestors, past, present, and future, across all timelines and dimensions. And until next time, blessed be. Sending you so much love.
Mm.
Mm.